Well, the next topic we're going to look at deals with human organ donation versus human organ sale. And the way we frame this in part two of Contemporary Debates in Bioethics is with this target question: is it morally acceptable to buy and sell organs for human transplantation? Now, you may recall that the chapter started off by looking carefully at the extreme shortage of human organ donors when it comes to the number of people who are waiting on different registries to get an organ that they need to stay alive. Now, the question is asked: what might be some of the reasons that a market in human organs is considered reprehensible, even in the face of extreme shortage? After all, you can imagine if people were dying by the thousands for not having, say, a personal computer, people would be willing to say, yes, the market should be allowed to distribute personal computers to people who need them for staying alive. And if a market can do it efficiently, then let's allow it. But with human organ donation and human organ sales, there's a very different approach. Many people feel like it's very wrong to sell a human organ. What might be some of the reasons for this? Well, the editors introduce some reasons that are often called deontological. Deontological arguments are those emphasizing your duties, from the Greek word deon, and deontological arguments are often associated with certain approaches to moral philosophy or certain particular philosophers. Now, deontological arguments for this idea that the human body should not be treated like any other object, say a Macintosh computer, and especially not like a commodity to be bought and sold. Well, they talk about a couple religious deontological arguments, which would say that there's something religiously suspect or religiously forbidden with using your body like it's a commodity. There's also arguments that come out of the tradition in philosophy inspired by Immanuel Kant, the great German philosopher, that would say that the body is not something to be commodified. However, the authors also note, and I'll flip back to the page to show this, that in addition to the Kantian arguments against the sale of human organs, they point out how Kant's morality has also been used by proponents of a market in human organs. Here, of course, one of the main themes is the autonomy of an individual to own themselves and to use their parts as they see fit rather than as someone else sees fit. So that might include the sale of your body parts. One kind of argument that is represented in this chapter along these lines is that put forward by Mark Cherry. So in the first chapter of this section that we're looking at, Mark Cherry looked at an argument that says, it's my body and I'll do what I want with it. What kind of argument is that? Well, it's an argument that emphasizes how a person has authority over himself or herself. And his freedom of choice over the use of his body and mind is part and parcel of maintaining personal integrity. So part of the idea here is, if I'm going to be true to myself, I should be allowed to do what I want with my body parts, and if that includes selling them to someone who needs them for the continuance of their own life, then I should be allowed to do it. Now, a different kind of argument is against this, and so Art Caplan, who is one of the authors of this section and also one of the editors of this book, you may recall he notes that selling organs, even in a tightly regulated market, violates the existing bioethical framework of respect for persons. Why? Well, the sale is clearly being driven by profit. Now, this particular concern is made somewhat more acute because it's not just like you're selling your toenails for a penny. Rather, the next quote illustrates that Caplan is wanting to identify and point out the harsh reality that most people who would be willing to sell a body part, at least in today's world, are very poor. So the decision that they make to sell a body part hardly seems to be rational or free in the sort of robust Kantian sense. And here the editors are alluding to the fact that Immanuel Kant emphasizes the importance of having a rationality and a freedom in making your decisions that are not just sort of whether you assent verbally to it, but rather having a freedom that is not coerced by various kinds of pressures and things that would compromise your ability to decide for yourself. So those are the things that we want to emphasize in starting off this discussion.